Ishan Bani with us as well, our colleague. Of course, he's been on the field reporting diligently for the last several days. Ishan, thank you so much for joining us. It's been another very long night and a very difficult night. Take us through what happened exactly and where we find ourselves this morning.
Yes, it started yesterday with broad daylight when the ceasefire violations took place in Uri, in Kupwara. A massive shelling took place overnight. What residents have told us that they were sleepless throughout the night. Majority of the people living in the harm's way have already moved out of those areas where ceasefire violations have now been frequent by Pakistan. And there is use of heavy artillery, which is destroying houses and reclaiming lives and injuring people. Many people are being treated at the hospital. What we know so far is in the morning, there was an attempt to breach the India's airspace, and that's when surface-to-air missiles and engagements actively were done in Srinagar, in other places as well. Yesterday, Avantipora, airbase of the Indian Air Force was an attempted target by the drones sent in from Pakistan, but they were, taken down by the Indian Air Force, and later on the Srinagar airport, which is also a defense airport, and right now being handled by the Indian Air Force, was also attempted to be targeted. But that there also the missiles brought down those drones and ensure the safety of both the critical locations. If you talk about in the morning, there were 2 projectiles found on the outskirts of Srinagar. Possibility is that either it's a drone which was brought down, which is trying to attack somewhere in Srinagar, or it was a part of an aircraft which fell down. There's an actively forces are engaging with the enemy right now. The airspace is being closely monitored and guarded to ensure safety and security. India has also hit several Pakistan camps on the line of control, and also those places where they believe the launch pads of these outfits are located. So it's a multi-prompt approach where not only from the line of control, but also in the sky. The Indian Air Force is not only trying to guard it, the defense forces are not trying to guard it, but also trying to attack from where they have been receiving these drones into the Indian territory. The India's stand is that we'll hit every target where the India's territorial integrity is being challenged, where the drones are coming out from. So those particular areas in Pakistan have been targeted, including some air bases. But the Pakistan is also trying to do a tit-for-tat action, trying to ensure that they are able to hit India's vital installations in Kashmir. But that has been averted. In Baramulla as well, where the important locations of the army is located, there also the Indian Air Force and the Indian Army ensured that the early detection ensured that there is no drone or any armed drone which can come and actually create an impact on any of these locations. Remember, the sources had told us that some of the drones earlier were not armed, but now yesterday there were several drones which were armed and trying to harm the Indian locations. But they have been successfully tackled. It's tense out here in Srinagar. There have been sirens that happened last night, and also blackout happened. And in the morning, some areas have also heard sirens happening. In Jammu has been the most impacted place where several rockets have landed and several drones have actually landed in residential areas, creating panic among locals. In Rajouri, a junior Kashmir Administrative Service officer of an additional deputy commissioner rank of the district was killed in the ceasefire violation by Pakistan. Umar Abdullah, the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, has tweeted on X saying that there is condolences with the families, and he has been shocked to know about this particular officer who was just yesterday with one of the deputy chief ministers of Jammu and Kashmir taking tour of and stock of the situation, and overnight he was killed in that violation. So this tells you the intensity at which ceasefire violations taking place, while the drone attacks are mounting, which have now become missile attacks from India on the Pakistani sites where the drones were coming into Indian territory.
That's right, Ishan, and our prayers and condolences to the family there. But Ishan, I just want to understand from you at this point in time, can you take us through what we are seeing as far as the Srinagar airport is concerned? Because again, a lot of unverified information at this point in time about explosions being heard, etc. Is that true? Can you confirm that?
Yes, locals did hear explosion in and around Srinagar airport, but sources indicating the airport hasn't suffered any damage, and those were firing that was done to ensure that the drones which were coming towards Srinagar airport were brought down. So far the defense forces have been able to ensure that any of these drone projectiles do not hit Indian civilian population or any critical base. But in Jammu, there is definitely some areas where it has hit residential areas, where it has hit certain areas, and the forces are trying to ensure that they're able to defend very well all of these critical locations to the Indian establishment, particularly in Jammu and Kashmir, so that they could be defeated, the enemy's nefarious plan. The plan is to attack these vital installations and to create chaos and to ensure that the forces are not able to use these bases. Look, the Avantipura air base and the Srinagar air station are very critical to the Indian Air Force in Kashmir, and that's where they were trying to ensure that they attack these places, but that hasn't happened. Multiple attacks have happened, but they have been responded. But apart from these air bases, the military establishment possibly and potentially on target. But yesterday in Baramulla, even people were around 9 o'clock when they heard and earth started shaking when the India fired several rockets and several projectiles to ensure that all these armed drones are brought down in the air and to ensure that they do not harm any army or defense establishment. Look, it seems like they want to hit the Indian establishment, particularly these defense forces, the armed forces, but India is effectively so far responding to it. And in Srinagar, since morning, because schools are closed, colleges and universities are closed, people are in a little bit of panic because this kind of situation hasn't been seen. There was a little panic in 2019 post-Pulwama attack, but that hadn't triggered both the sides getting into so much of attacking, particularly the missile attacks that have taken place and drones being sent in. It's a kind of modern warfare in a reality in the current scenario. So all of this is happening at at a time when Kashmir was lingering towards normalcy and things were getting better. So the people are really in a stage of shock that what's happening and scared, but the administration is telling them, don't be scared, be alert and vigilant, and nothing is going to happen, and we're going to try to protect you as much as possible.
Absolutely, Shanwani. Many thanks for joining us there. We will, of course, keep coming back to you for more and for the latest updates there from the area from Jammu and Kashmir. But thanks very much for joining us with the latest there.